Hi all, welcome to another video lecture. In this video lecture, we will see what is the difference between TREATAS function and useRelationship function in DAX. So in DAX, both TREATAS and useRelationship are used for managing relationships and filters, especially in complex data model. Here's how they differ and when to use each. So TREATAS, it applies the result of a table expression as a filter. It is used to simulate a relationship that doesn't exist physically, and it is common with disconnected tables and slices. So when there are two tables which do not have any kind of relationships established, then in that particular case, if we want to calculate some kind of parameter, right, with the help of two tables without any relationship, then we can use the TREATAS function. So for example, sum of sales of amount, this we need to calculate, and treat as values of date and sales of order date. So there is no relationship which is established between the date and the sales table on the basis of date and the order date column, right? Then we can go ahead and use the TREATAS function in that case. In use relationship, it activates an inactive physical relationship, right? So, and it is useful when multiple relationship exists between two tables, right? So if there is any kind of a physical relationship that is established, be it active or inactive, doesn't matter, but if there is any kind of physical relationship, then we definitely use the use relationship function. Okay, this is the example. And for use relationship function, we have already created a separate video on that, on use relationship and cross filter. You can go ahead, click at the link at the top, and you can find that. So this is the comparison, TREATAS versus use relationship. Requires relationship, in TREATAS we don't require, in use relationship we require it in active. Then common use case, disconnected tables or slices. Use relationship is with multiple relationships. Performance, TREATAS can be slower, use relationship is faster because obviously there is physical relationship. Used in calculate, and this is used again in calculate, so both can be used with calculate. Okay, so let us go to this Power BI and let us see this through an example. Okay, so we have this sales data table, right? And in the sales data table, we have the order date and we have the delivery date, right? We have the delivery date, and we want to calculate the turnover, the sum of the turnover based on the order date and the your delivery date, right? And I have created this dates table, which is the DAX calculated table, right, which has the date value over here. Okay, now what I'm going to do, you see these two tables, they don't have any relationship which is established, right? So if we have to use the use relationship function, then what we need to do, we need to establish a physical relationship, correct? So let us go ahead and let us establish the relationship between the date and the order date. Okay, let's hit on save. If I hover on this is a solid line. If you can see, this represents that this is an active relationship. If I hover on it, you will see that the date and the order date, they both are marked. Now again, I have to establish the same relationship, but between the date and the delivery date. So what I have to do, I will go ahead and I will click on this, and here you will see this checkbox is not automatically checked, right? Because already an active relationship exists. If I go ahead and check on it, you will see that it will give me an error, that there are ambiguous paths between sales data and dates table, right? So let's uncheck this and let us hit on save. Once we do that, you will see that there is a dotted line. It is represented with dotted line, which means that this is an inactive relationship. If I hover on it, you will see the delivery date and the date is highlighted, correct? Now what I will do, I will go to the report view and I will go ahead, I will create a new measure. Okay, and in this measure, what I will do, I will go ahead and I will calculate the sum of the turnover. And what I will do, I will go ahead and I will say use relationship. Now what will the use relationship function will do? It will accept two columns, column name 1 and column name 2. In column name 1, we will have the one side of the table, that is the dimension table. And in column 2, we will have the fact table, which generally represents the many side of the table, right? So we will establish the relationship between the dates of date, which is the one side of the table, comma, the dates, the sales data 1 delivery date, which is the inactive relationship. Okay, this will work for the inactive relationship, right? So if I go ahead and if I hit on enter, Okay, now what I will do, I will go ahead and bring out one matrix, and in the matrix I will go ahead and pull out the dates from the date table, which is the one side, and let me go ahead and delete the date. And what I will do, I will bring this measure into this, and let me drill it down. Okay, and one thing I will do, I will go to format and I will increase the values to 20. Okay, and I will increase the column header to 20 as well, and the row header to 20. Okay, so now it's visible properly. Yes. Okay, okay, now if you can just see that we have this measure value, right? This is established on the basis of the delivery date, right? If you go to the model view, you will see that the delivery date is inactive, but it has still given me the value. Why? Because temporarily for this particular visual we have made this inactive relationship active, correct? If I want to go ahead and if I want to find it out for the order date, I can simply, I do not need to replace this with order date, or I do not need to create a separate measure. I can simply go ahead and I can drag this turnover inside this, and you will see this value will give me for the order date, because by default it is going to give me the value for the relationship that is active on the basis of column with which we have made that active relationship. So right now we have created the active relationship on the basis of order date, so it will go ahead and it will give me on the basis of order date. If I go ahead and if I end up switching this, right, switching the relationship, if I make the delivery date as active and the order date as inactive, you will see this will switch. This will now give me the value for the delivery date, and for the measure I will have to go ahead and I will have to replace the delivery date with the order date in that case. Okay, so the values will be switched in that case, right? So this is where use relationship function comes, right? It makes an inactive relationship active temporarily for that particular visual, right? But for us to use the use relationship, there needs to be some kind of a physical relationship that needs to be established, right? What if there is no physical relationship? Let me delete this, and let me delete this one as well. You see there is no physical relationship. In that particular case, what will happen? You will see this will give me an error that use relationship function can only use the two column references participating in a relationship. So there can be many instances where there cannot be any kind of relationship established between two physical tables, right? These are two physical tables, so it cannot be established. So in this particular case, can we still go ahead and calculate the turnover on the basis of the date and the delivery dates? Can we still go ahead and create some kind of relationship even though there is no physical relationship in the model table, in the model view? And the answer is yes, we can do it with the help of the TREATAS function. Okay, so this is where TREATAS comes in handy. We will go to this measure, and I will go ahead and I will remove this, and I will say TREATAS, and here it expects an expression. Okay, so I will go ahead and I will use the values, and within the values there will be table name or column name. So this is supposed to be the one side, so dates table of date, this is going to give me the entire unique values of the dates, right? Comma, this is supposed to be the many side, right? And I will go ahead and I will say I need it for the delivery date. Let's say delivery date. Okay, now if I go ahead and if I hit on enter, and let me say that this is measure treat as. Okay, measure treat as. Okay, let me hit on enter. You see this will work fine. Okay, this will work fine, because if you just look at this, right, measure treat as is giving me the proper values, right? But if you look at the turnover, right, turnover is not giving me proper values, and the reason why it is not giving me proper values because there is no relationship. So filter context will not work for implicit measures, right? For this turnover, it will not work. So what I will go ahead and what I will do for this, I will click on this visual, and I will remove this sum of turnover. Okay, and you see it will give me the proper values for the proper months, right? It is working in the same way as use relationship, right? But the only difference being that there is no physical relationship that is present. If I want to go ahead and if I want to showcase the order date, I can do that one as well. I will just simply replace this with order date and it will give me the value for the order date. You see it is giving me. Okay, so this is probably the difference between the use relationship function and the treat as function, correct? Another difference being that treat as function works slower compared to use relationship. Use relationship function works faster, correct? But let's say this is between two physical tables, correct? We have these two physical tables over here. So obviously we would prefer to create relationship and then we would definitely want to go ahead and work in. When there are two physical tables that are involved, right, generally we don't prefer to use treat as. We prefer to use relationship because that works faster. But what if there is a virtual table that is involved, right? Because generally we can create a virtual table, and what if we want to establish a relationship between the virtual table and the physical table? In that particular case, what should we do? In those cases, treat as function really comes in handy. That is probably one of the cases where we cannot use the use relationship. We have to use the treat as, right? One way how we can actually do, we can use the virtual, how we can use the use relationship is to make the virtual table into a DAX calculated physical table, right? Once we do that, then we will go ahead and we will establish a relationship. Then we can definitely go ahead and use the use relationship function. But obviously we would end up creating a DAX calculated column, a table, right? And that would definitely put load on the model, overall model, correct? Data model. So in that particular case, what should we do? We should definitely use the treat as. So here is one case. Okay, I have already created a measure date table equals to calculate the sum of the turnover. Within the treat as, we have used this. You see the summarized dates of table, date table month, date table year. This entirely which is within the summarize, this is a virtual table. Okay, because this table is not present physically or is not part of the data model, right? This I have created virtually, I have created within the measure, right? So summarize, what it will do, it will create a table on the basis of month and on the basis of year, right? And this month and year is coming from the dates table, correct? So this is the one side of the table, right? And in the many side of the table, what I am trying to do, I am trying to map it with the delivery date. Now sales data one is a physical table, right? This is a physical table, and from this, within this physical table, I am trying to go ahead and I am trying to map it with the delivery date month and the delivery date year. Now one thing which we should keep in mind is that the ordering is very important. Okay, here if the ordering is month and year, then here also the ordering should be month and year. If it is year and month, then it will give an error in that case. Okay, so the ordering is very important, and in this case, if you can just see, we have established a relationship between the virtual table and the physical table. If I go ahead, hit on enter, and if I drag this here, if I expand it, you will see this is for the delivery date, and it works the same for the delivery date. If I go to the measure treat as, right, measure treat as, and if I replace that with this with delivery date, you will see this will give me the exact same value. See, everything is same, it is giving me the exact same value. So this is the difference, okay, between treat as and use relationship, right? So with use relationship, you cannot establish a relationship between one virtual table and a physical table, or between two virtual tables. In that particular case, you definitely go for treat as function. That is a much better option. Okay, so for summarize, we have already created a separate video. You can go ahead and you can watch it. The link is at the top. Okay, so that's it guys. I hope I have been able to provide you with some clarity. If you really enjoyed this video, if you really like this session, then please don't forget to like, share and subscribe my channel. Please don't forget to support me and press the bell icon for notification. Thank you.